Can you talk to us about when you wanted to launch Chef AJ Live? What was that process for you like? And and sort of how did you get started?
Yeah, well, so Chef AJ Live, my daily show, that was not even my intention. And it's not that I didn't want to be a YouTuber or have a YouTube show. I think it's fabulous, but I see myself more as a speaker author. And I just want to mention this also in case it's relevant to you or your audience, that the reason I was able to make money writing books is because I self-published. If I had taken that deal with the publisher, I would not have been able to do this, because I was very lucky that my book has always paid my rent. Well, now I have 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know how many, because I work with other people. But my first book, Unprocessed, I was very lucky, but because I self-published and didn't take that publishing deal with a major publisher, that I was able always to pay my rent. And without that, I would have had to keep my job as an apartment manager. So that was my job. When Unprocessed came out, that was my job. And then I had this book and people were inviting me, Dr. McDougall, to speak at his conference and to go on the cruise. Well, I couldn't. And if that book didn't pay my rent, I would have had, you know what I'm saying? So that was also a strategic move, because, I wanted the, whatever that word is, the status of going with a publisher or whatever. And my co-writer, who had been with publishers, really talked me out of it. And that was the best decision I made. I've actually never gone with a publisher until this year, and we'll see how we do, because the best promoter of your work is you. So we'll see what happens, because I'm at the point now where if one thing flops, I'll be okay. But it was the self-publishing of the book that really was, of all the books, that made the difference, at least in me being able to do this as an entrepreneur, right? So that's that. But with Chef AJ Live, that wasn't a strategic move. It was what we call the pandemic pivot, because I am probably the 3rd worst person with technology you'll ever meet. I put Dr. Goldhammer like second and my friend Jean-Pierre first, because I actually can figure a few things out if I'm taught. But I was using a technology that I was unfamiliar with, and because I have a private group, a membership group, and I was trying to go live when the pandemic hit. Well, not when the pandemic hit, but it was March 20th, 2020, when our governor in our state said we're going to have to start staying at home, which means all my jobs, well, at least temporarily, were canceled, because I had this big job coming up in Florida. It was going to be my 60th birthday party that people were attending on the beach, and I had Dr. Doug Lyle and other speakers booked. So everything got canceled. And so I wanted to connect with the group, and and what happened is I pushed the wrong button. And what happened is, instead of going live to the group, I went live on all of Facebook and all of YouTube. And there was like 600 people watching. And we don't get 600 every day. Well, we do if we had, like, when it's Dr. McDougall or Dr. Furman, but on a daily basis, we probably get more like 300, but still that's pretty good watching live for a show. And they were really appreciating the sense of connection, because we didn't know very much 2 years ago what was happening. And they just liked, I just said, hey, I'm just going to be here. I'll come on every day. We'll talk. But then it was like, I get bored, like, because you have to kind of look at yourself to broadcast, because you can't really turn your camera off. Well, you can, but it's complicated. And I got to get some friends. So I would call up or text the doctors that were my friends, and I say, could you just come on and talk? And then what happened is people started watching every day, and then people started like I got like 1 month we got like 200 emails. Can I be on your show? And I'm like, what show? Because at the beginning, now I say welcome to Chef AJ Live, but and so now I get booked 6 months in advance, and I'm really actually loving it, because I would never have. I've done close to 1,000 shows now, and I wouldn't have met all the vegans in the world that need to have a platform if I had just continued to travel. I would meet, and it's not that I'm saying traveling is not great, but it tends to be the same 200 people over and over again at the conferences, at the cruise. I'm not meeting new people, and now I'm meeting people, and then I do. What I love, this is what I really love, is that I'm countries. So I'm going into, I do these weeks where I promote like Indian College of Lifestyle Medicine. Where am I going to meet Indian medical doctors? I'm not going to India. Or I'm doing a week with the Australian lifestyle medicine. I did a week with England. And so it's just a lot of fun, because I see myself now as Don King, except of the veganism. So I want to promote other vegans and give them a chance to get seen and heard, because it's going to take, like Dr. McDougall says, an army. And while we have these big leaders in the movement with big followings, we need to have more more, I don't like this army tech, soldiers. I don't like that word, but you know what I'm trying to say. We need to
exactly
have a bigger reach than the same 5 doctors that are on everybody's list that you want on your show. We need to, because I am blown away. Like the people that write me, because I don't write people to be on my show anymore, because early on I got a lot of rejection from people that are like, why don't you have so-and-so? And I'm not going to say their name. They're like a big influencer, and they'd either be really rude to me or just not answer. Like, well, if I wanted to be on your show, you wouldn't believe, like, not every vegan is nice. So I got gun shy about asking people. And so people will write me, and I don't know who they are, but as long as they're vegan and doing, they don't have to be like healthy vegan. I just don't want to be promoting like vegan stuff that I personally wouldn't eat with like a lot of oil and stuff. But as long as they're vegan, pretty much they can be on the show. If they're doing a recipe, it has to be no oil. And non-vegans can be on the show too, by the way. As long as they're not bashing veganism. I'm not going to turn down a great author of a book I read, that had value. But like yesterday, I had this lady, I never heard of her. She's a vegan chef at community college in Portland. And I'm watching this demo and I'm like, you're extraordinary. Like, there's extraordinary people. And that is my job, to find them and show you, because, I'm hoping one day I can, like, not necessarily retire, but like take a day off or something and have everybody else do the work. I'm like, look, and also products. Like, I love finding products that people haven't uncovered yet, and bringing them to the village. So it's a lot of fun what I'm doing now. And I get to stay at home with my dog. And that's the best part, because traveling is hard, even before the pandemic. Ever since 9/11, getting on a plane wasn't like it used to be when I was little, when the flight attendants dressed up and wore heels and gave you a pack of playing cards and a magazine. It's difficult to travel now. So I'm very thankful that I can reach people, meet people, and do something that I'm proud of. That's on a daily basis.
That's so incredible. And yeah, traveling is not the same. I can attest to that. And luckily I served in the military and I had to travel for the military. And so I'm kind of used to being roughed up now, going through security. But yeah, it's definitely no. So there's just a lot to unpack there. The Chef AJ thing just sort of happened, and now it has blossomed into something that is really magical. And I can relate. That's why every time I email with you, I thank you so much for agreeing to come onto our podcast, come onto our networking event, because I've gotten a lot of rejections too. And and so I'm sure you're the same way, but you have the personality of resilient and just want to go back and try again later. But sometimes it's really discouraging when people are just telling you, like, when that they're totally blowing you off.
Yeah, it's like, I got an email today. It was something about my value reward wasn't big enough or something. And it's like, if you only knew how much people sell of their stuff when they come on the show. Yeah, people can be really, really rude, and but people can be really, really nice too,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I almost never turn people down if it's a vegan podcast or conference. It's now I'm starting to turn down summits where they have people of opposite viewpoints, just because it's confusing my audience. I used to want to go on them just to give the vegan viewpoint, but it's almost like I don't want to do it anymore. I go back and forth with that, like with these quit sugar and kick sugar summits, because I want the vegan voice heard, but so many of the people are low carb and anti-vegan. But I will say, resiliency or never giving up. One of the things about the pandemic that was nice is that these famous people could not travel either. So they couldn't be on book tours. And so I was able to interview people that have been on my radar that I've asked for 10 years, like Michael Moss, that never, it's not that he didn't give me the time of day. He's very nice, but, just too busy for me. So that's very nice to be able to do that. And then, here's the thing, like Dr. McDougall, he's on every 2 weeks now. Like I would be happy just doing him. Like I don't even need the other days of the week. I get so excited that he wants to come on my show and give a new lecture every 2 weeks. And to me, he's such a superstar. So it's nice, because one of the things I get from people is that I'm nice, and I'm not always nice in life, especially if people are not nice to animals, but I really try to be gracious on my show, because I feel like my show is like you coming to my house, and if I don't like and respect you, then I'm not going to invite you for dinner, because I don't want to be like Howard Stern. And even when people say things that I completely disagree with, I don't like make them uncomfortable or put them on the spot. I won't just like, nobody's ever said anything like it's great to eat animals, but even when they say things like, did people know that Chef AJ wouldn't, I let it go. You know what I mean? because I want that reputation of people feeling comfortable and not feeling scared, because people are like, oh, I'm so nervous. And it's like, you're nervous. I'm nervous every day, you know? So, so don't you be nervous. I should be scared of you, not you
Right.
scared of me. So I do try to be very kind to people. And also people come on the show just for the vinegar. They hear about the fact that I've got a sponsor, Thomas Allen from California Balsamic. And the first time you're on the show, if you live in the United States, you get 2 free bottles of this vinegar. And so people are like, they're coming on the show just to get the free vinegar. Some of them, it's funny, but it's fun.
That is funny. No, and one of the questions that I had, which I think you sort of, answered for the audience and for myself is, if someone was looking to get started, how do they muster up the courage to do it? And, just kind of hearing your honesty of saying, hey, look, I get nervous, I still get nervous when I go
I
on
get
these.
nervous all the time, especially when it's like a big wig like Dr. McDougall. I always, I mean, it sounds trite, but just do it to get started. I mean, what's that saying? The first mile is always the longest mile. You just have to, I think if you know why you're doing it, it's going to be helpful because like you say, when you're intent, it's really nice to make money. Don't get me wrong, especially as you age, but if your intention is just to make money, you're probably not going to be successful in most careers. That's why if passion and money can come together, it's really wonderful when that happens. But I think you have to decide what you want to do. So I know for me, I had taken this course. And again, a lot of people think it's a cult. It's not. I took a course and it's called Landmark Education. It came from when I lived in LA, and it really wonderful. I think of them more like almost as either personal development or almost business courses. But I took this course and we had to create this initiative. It was a year-long course, and it was and I used to, of course, I wanted to make money and I wanted my classes to fill because at the time I was teaching cooking classes. And I remember creating this initiative that, I'm going to make a difference in people's life in the area of their health. And like when I started reframing it more than like, I just want to be rich and famous. And I really had the initiative of just trying to help people with that. It was like everything changed. And like my classes just kept, I kept filling classes and getting offers and things like that. So at the end of the day, I'm here for the animals, and I do it in the way I do it, which is because people seem to want to lose weight. And that has been my niche because when I was doing it just for lowering cholesterol, people would be like, that's nice. And then people found out they could lose weight. And it's like, whoa, now I'm going to listen because most people do want to lose weight. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is because that's a good way to draw them in. And then I can hit them over the head with the kale. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. And that was one of the things that came through to me when I was reading your bio. I said, this is your positioning is genius because most people want to lose weight. I mean, I'm in that category. I'm vegan and I'm still, so I was always physically fit and very healthy my whole life, played sports, went to the military, the Marines to be exact. And so I was very physically fit. And then I left the military and I started gaining weight. This was before I went vegan. But then I heard about veganism and the weight just kind of fell off. But then as I've been vegan and I learned more different stuff that I can eat, I'm not as healthy as you, I'm going to confess. I indulge in all of the vegan, some of the vegan junk I try. I'm getting better at it, at avoiding it now. But it's sort of like discovering that there's a lot to eat that's vegan. And then you're like, oh, whoa, I don't want to be unhealthy though, and so that's kind of where I am today. But I think your position is phenomenal in terms of, there's so many diets out there to weight loss, if you do this and if you 21 days and, you're going to do all this stuff. And so you coming at it from a health loss perspective and sort of, having a credible story of your own. And then I think it's brilliant. And I'm not surprised that you're doing really well. But at this time, I know that we're gonna lose you here in a little while, and I want to give the audience an opportunity to see if folks have questions out there.
Sure.
So,
can I just say one thing though? At the end of the day, I am an ethical vegan, but when I try to approach it only from that aspect, I got very few people interested.
yes. Yes.
And I used to table for an animal rights group. I was the executive secretary of an animal rights group, and I did that for years. And almost nobody wanted to join the club. But then once the conversation came about, there's something in it for you, your health, you can look great, feel great, lose weight, then all of a sudden people were interested. But at the end of the day, the motivation is to alleviate animal suffering and save animals. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? But when I go to speak at a spa that's not vegan, that's, hopefully they're not watching this. They don't know that.
Um, yeah, so no, I totally get that. And someone has a question here or for you, for folks who are starting out, how do you recommend negotiating pay rates? There's a temptation to deliver, but what do you do? What do you think about you've done enough?
What do you mean by pay rates? I don't understand that part of the question.
Hamid, you're welcome to come off mute and elaborate.
Just just I think how you're mentioning you went from being a chef, maybe at a restaurant where they're paying a salary, but at some point you switched over to speaking and
Yeah, well, the working for
being
yourself
yeah.
is, yeah, because when you work for yourself, you can set the rate, you know, whereas if you work for somebody else, you're only going to make as much as they're willing to pay you, right? And I think that's the big difference when you're an entrepreneur is you're your own boss. And in my case, she's a real bitch, let me tell you. But 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 yeah, that's it. Because I mean, I think about people, even people that make good salaries. When you work for somebody else, I think there's a limit, right? And when you work for yourself, there is no limit. So I think it's what the market can bear. And of course, I think everybody has to have like a non-negotiable. Like I've always had a number in my head that I would never work for less than that. Well, the restaurant is an exception because I was doing it for a very specific reason. But I think everybody has, only know your expenses, and like that story about Anthony, I did a very similar thing. I left LA. I was never going to own a house in LA, no matter how much money I made. So I moved, right? And I lowered I mean, it's amazing. I have a beautiful house for less than what my rent was in a crappy apartment, so what your expenses are, and what and when I say your worth, I don't mean your worth as a person, but because that you don't put a number value on that, but you kind of know what you need to make, right? I mean, most people know what their rent is and their health insurance. And so I think you kind of put that into also what other people are making in the same thing. That's the other thing, what other people are making, and it kind of is, it's a little bit unfair sometimes, like when I've done these conferences, how like the hierarchy of how some people just make a ton and some people get paid nothing. And that's not fair either. I wish there was somebody that was like, I still do acting a little bit, not too much, but I keep my toe in it and do comedy in case something opens up. And we have these people called agents and that negotiate for us. I wish there was this in the plant-based world, so we wouldn't all have to be competing against the same job, and it would be a little bit more fair, and we could use, I just think that'd be so cool. Like if I'd be really good at it actually, but I think there's a really missing there. So I think you find out what other people are making for, what you're doing. And, and that's also business strategies. You can charge a little bit less,
Right.
I've done that,
Yeah. No, that was a great question. And I heard that there is a depressed pay scale for cooking demos compared to speaking.
I think it depends who the person is, because when you get Ann Esselstyn doing the cooking demo, she's going to make as much as probably her husband speaking at that conference. You know what I'm saying? And as a matter of fact, I think having produced 19 conferences and spoken in hundreds more, I think these people should get more because it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder, especially because very often they're having you make the samples. Like I remember speaking at Torrance Memorial Hospital, I had to make 3 recipes, 400 samples. That's a lot of work. I didn't get paid at all for the job, just so you know. This was a long time ago. But sometimes you do have to work for free at the beginning, and then they see your value, right? I mean, if you're not known, but that's why YouTube has leveled the playing field. I mean, think about all the people like Justin. Is it Justin? I'm so bad. Which is it, Bieber or
Yeah,
Timberlake?
Justin Bieber. Yeah, he got his
Yeah,
start
I
there.
mean,
Yeah.
so or look at the girl now that's starring in West Side Story. Even though that movie was what propelled her, you can look at her past YouTube. So I think somebody that has the talent and the drive, I think, will ultimately be successful. It's just you got to find your people, right? That's the thing. You got to find your right audience, I think. And in business classes I took, they called them the Jesse, and that means that like somebody that really is, I don't know, interested in, that's the thing. It's like, you're not going to be like the right person for everybody, right? You just have to find the ones that you are your audience. You don't have to like go try to steal somebody else's. There's the people that resonate with your message, that's who you need to find as your tribe. And that's the thing is you don't have to have every slice of the pie to be successful. And I think a lot of vegans, see, one of the things I want to do is be generous. And I want to, like, I mean, there's other vegans that will just like not like share information. I mean, like, I'll tell you anything. I mean, I'm not gonna maybe tell you like, you know, certain personal things, but almost anything I will tell you for free. You ask me, and if it's like how much money, maybe I would even tell you on a private call. Like, I just don't feel, you know what I'm saying? Because I want to see other people be successful. It's not that I don't want people that aren't vegan to be successful, but I want people that are vegan to be more successful, helping, because it'll help. I mean, I don't mean to say if you're not vegan, you should never, I hope you're never successful. But what I'm trying to say is we've got to find more people to pass the torch to that are teaching any aspect of veganism, even if it's junk food veganism. I mean, I almost don't care unless it affects the person's health. You know, I mean, I'm not opposed to vegan junk food. I mean, I'd rather have people, you know, people get mad at me when I say I'd rather have people eat vegan junk food than healthier animal products. And that's the truth, because I'm an ethical vegan. But as far as, you know, paying, it's what you can get them to pay. And a lot of times, you know, I've been to conferences where, you know, and this was a long time ago, where they say, oh, we don't have, you know, we're a nonprofit, we can't pay anybody. And then I find out, you know, Gregor was paid $5,000 and I got really mad, you know, because I think people should be paid something. The thing is people think like we make all these money speaking. You don't make money speaking. I mean, maybe if you're Bill Clinton or something, or you know, I don't know, you know, those famous people like Bill Gates and stuff. But the reason you do these demos and conferences is to grow your list. You make money from your list, the people that actually will give you their email, so that when you send out, you know, your newsletter or stuff, you know, and that's why when you go to these conferences, you hand out your clipboard or your little iPad and you get them. But there's, you know, because it's amazing, because most veg fests don't pay at all. And that you know, and some of them don't even pay for you to get there on the plane. I remember, I mean, when I think about how much money it was just to like speak at this tiny little veg fest, and I had to pay for my own hotel. I mean, I won't do that anymore, but you know, but things can generally be negotiated if they want you, right? So the other thing I would say is you don't ask, you don't get. You know, I don't even tell people what I want. I ask them, what can you pay? Because guess what? A lot of times it was way higher than what I would have asked for. So you never put the number out first. Say, well, what is the compensation? You know, yeah. And sometimes there is none. And, you know, I'll be honest, like there was one time when I spoke for the Vegetarian Society of Hawaii, I was fine with no compensation, because they paid my plane fare and they gave me a place to stay, and it was Hawaii, right? But when it's in some godforsaken city that takes 3 planes to get to, I might rethink that. So right. I think you just have to be clear on what you are willing to do and what you want. And when you're that way, just in life, it's just a better way to be, I think, you know.
I agree. I totally agree. And we're just about out of time for the time that you agreed to stay on with us.
Well, if I knew this was so much fun, I would have agreed to more time. No,
right.
I'm just kidding.
I wonder if anybody else have at least one last question for Chef AJ. I don't want you to have a burning question and have this opportunity and miss out. Anyone? All right.
I'm available every day at YouTube at 11. I have a little chat, because we have a show, and then we have a show where I'm typing to the people, but I'm always happy to answer questions. And every now and then I've taught some business classes through an organization called, what is the name of the company? They were really fun. Justin Bellamy's company, Justin Bellamy Media, something or other. But yeah, because it's really fun helping people be successful in business. I mean, because that I do enjoy that.
Awesome. No, and I mean, we could tell, because we could just hear the passion. You know, I talked to a lot of people who are passionate, and I mean, from the moment you hit the stage, you were just, you know, very passionate. And I think we all got a lot from you talking to us today, and sharing your, you know, sort of your personal story as well as your professional story, which is both really amazing. So I want to say thank you, Chef AJ, for joining us today. We really appreciated your time. And I'm sure we learned a lot, and we benefited a lot from having you on with us today. So thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on.
Take care.
All right.
Bye,
have
everybody.
a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.